Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast, episode number 375. I'm your host, Jose. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Today's guest is the creator and owner behind MakeJoy Studio, Jennifer. She's fantastic to talk to, and she's actually a really interesting person just from her perspective of living in the Valley and now not living in the Valley, and just how you work as with your clients and who are still in the Valley as you're like transitioning out. So it's like one of those situations where if you are looking to, let's say work offline or work, mostly online, and you have a business that prefers to be more of an online based clientele, this is a conversation for you to listen into. On top of which, she's a survivor of a very particular health issue. And so I hope that you guys really take note of our conversation and where we go. And I really enjoyed this one. And actually, just to give you a little heads up, she's part of Brittany, who is our producer, works with the No Women. She's part of the No Women tribe. So I encourage you guys all to always check us out, and all of our links and bios and everything that we put down in below. And so I will now lead us into a little bit of the work side. You can hear every episode of Finding Arizona Podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you guys to connect with us, so everything in social media world is under Finding Arizona Podcast. Last but not least, if you want to send us an email at findingarizonapodcast@gmail.com, I encourage you to do so. Again, tell us who you want in next and we'll try and make that happen. We have a little bit of behind the scenes for you guys, always available for you in our social media side. Under YouTube, we have a vlog that you can learn about our family. But if you want to just stay up to date with us on just the businessy side, there's a newsletter for you to sign up to. And so that you guys are ahead of the curve, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening to this right now, I always try and give you guys feedback on what's going on in our family life through these little intros. And so right now, currently, little guy is over at dance class. He is with mom and grandpa. Mom went out to Chicago to open up a Chicago branch of the No Tribe and No Women. Sorry. I just really want to just encourage you guys to always do your best to make time for the things that you want to do. That's what I'm doing. So I don't get to go to a lot of the dance classes because I love doing this and editing the things that I love to do. And so mom takes the reins on that. And I encourage you guys always to make time for your passions, make time for the things that you love. But overall, I just want to say we're doing fantastic. Tomorrow is my birthday. I turned 34. I'm not afraid to say that. I love where I'm at in my age and where I'm at in life. So I thank you again for joining me for this long. If you've been a fan since day one, thank you for the ride. Thank you for just, allowing me to do what I do. And for every episode that we've put out, I hope that we can continue to stay up to date with them and continue to be friends with the business owners behind the business. So that being said, let's just jump into this episode number 375 with MakeJoy Studio. We will catch you on the next one. And as always, kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. Bye, y'all.
Who is a no woman?
She's ambitious.
She is juggling life.
Oh, she is high performing.
She's self-made.
Definitely busy.
Woman supporter.
Cares about the rooms that she's going into.
Building an empire.
Definitely working in a male-dominated industry.
She is competitive.
And cares about impact.
And she's inspired by the word no.
Oh, completely relentless.
She is self-made.
She is a badass.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose, and every week we bring in someone very special. Today's no different. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from MakeJoy Studio, the CEO and founder, Jen is going to be talking with us today about branding and about design and branding. So I'm very excited to have this conversation with her. Jen, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. First off, give us this is a question that we typically ask everyone, and this is just a standard question. Give us your origin story and how this business came to life.
Sure. We'll try not to go too far, but when I first graduated from ASU, I studied design management, and I just wanted to work for any kind of design firm there was, and I ended up in the marketing department for a local landscape architecture firm.
Nice.
Yeah, so I did that right out of college. I started in the CAD. I learned CAD in school, and so I did computer aided drafting.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and then once I graduated, because I started there before I graduated, they kind of pulled me over to help with the marketing department. And I think it was just because they needed, the lowest person on the totem pole for help.
Yeah.
And so I went over there, and actually then they hired me there full time in the marketing department. And I really enjoyed that. And it was a lot of learning in that department. But ultimately that was right during, then we went fast forward into a recession right after I graduated. And so, and I had just purchased my first home in Tempe. Wow. And a month later I lost my job. So I don't know. I kind of right away out of graduation, my dad's idea of, work for a corporation for 40 years and they'll take care of you.
Yeah.
Completely went out the window.
Yeah.
It was a great company. So it was not, obviously there was a lot of people who lost their job during that recession. So, but ultimately I went and worked for the bankruptcy court because that was the only place hiring.
Wow.
And I learned a lot about that.
Yeah.
And luckily I was only there for 9 months because there was an opening at Gensler, the architecture firm, and they needed somebody in their marketing department. So I was at Gensler, big national architecture firm.
Very big.
Yeah, very big. Their Phoenix office, luckily not as big because I was the only one in the marketing department at the time. But I was running that for about 3 years. And then I decided I didn't really like where the person was 10 years above me. I think somebody told me to do that. Look at the person who's 10 years senior to you, and do you want to be there? And I was like, not really. I went to school for design and ultimately went down this path of marketing. And I saw it more about selling the architecture firm versus being creative. And so I liked the creative side of marketing. Got it. So I went back to school to learn graphic design specifically because I really didn't have the technical skills to do graphic design. And yeah, so then during school, I had to, unfortunately, it was such a intensive master's program, I did have to leave my job. So I took on 3 other small jobs while I kind of survived through grad school. And people heard I was studying graphic design. And actually, one of my first clients was an architect that I worked with. Yeah. And he needed a website and a brand. And then I just thought, well, I'm not employed, but I'm making some money from this. Maybe I'll just go do this on my own. And so right in the middle of grad school, I decided to start MakeJoy Studio, and it's going to be 10 years in February.
Kudos to that. That's awesome. That's so cool. Well, I'll give you a little insight on my story. Is kind of similar in the fact that I was in grad school. So I'm a landscape architect by trade, and that's kind of my deal. So when you said Gensler, I was like, oh, I know them. And then when I was in grad school, I was in screen printing. And so that's how the podcast came to be. And I meet these owners, had conversations, doing their t-shirts, just screen printing, different merchandise items. And they all had cool stories. And I was like, I got to share these, or I got to put these down somewhere. And so that's where the podcast came to life. But after, or I think a little bit before I was doing that, I was actually doing large scale printing and just not like they were looking for someone to help them out because they needed a CAD person. So I knew CAD
There we
from
go.
from school. They were looking for a CAD person to help them with their wall plans and like concept designs. And so I had to learn graphic design alongside with the CAD. And I knew a little bit, but I didn't know a lot. And so that's where I picked up a lot of my love and passion for graphic art, graphic design, and Illustrator in general. And
Yeah.
so that's, kind of like my story of like, I was doing something way different than what my degree was, teaching me. But the fact that it was in the similar vein, or at least something that was like, creative, it allowed me to like really generate more ideas, more, love and passion for my own design and my own concepts and things that I love doing on the side, which is drawing and being creative. So I was able to create the logo for Finding Arizona based on all of that experience in that graphic department. And so that's, I take a lot of it with me. I take a lot of that foundational learning and bring it into what I do today, which is a lot more video design and video editing and things like that. Still elements, all pieces of what I started from the get-go. And I love doing it. I love being the person as creative as I thought I would be as a kid. Now actually like, oh, I have so many cool ideas. Now I can actually create them and make them myself. And that's something that I won't ever take for granted. So thank you again for sharing your story. That's a really cool, like it's a connecting piece to me, to you, that allows me to like really like, oh, she's kind of like me. She's like, she started off doing something she didn't normally wouldn't do. And now she's doing something that she's very passionate about. That's awesome. So I will ask, you're an ASU grad. You and I are both ASU grads. And you also now, from my wife who knows you, you are actually a part of her kind of group, which is the No Women. And how did you find them? Let me ask you that question.
Oh, that's okay. So I just found out about No Women in 2022. So it's been just over a year that I've been with them, and it's complete game changer for me. I found out I knew a common person, Sarah Hogue Photography.
Okay.
That's not her name, but it's Sarah Hogue. And I follow her. I knew her through a mutual friend, and I follow her through Facebook, all the different channels. And one day, about 2 weeks before the No Women Summit of 2022, she posted about the summit, and I was like, wait, what is this? I need to know about this. I've been looking for being part of, a solopreneur for 10 years.
Yeah.
I started to feel a little lonely. It just got worse and worse over the years. And so then when 2020 hit, it got even worse for everybody.
Yep.
And I kind of came out of it thinking, I really need to put myself out there again and have a community, because I missed that from grad school. I had very close friends in grad school, and it was like those friendships were kind of like disappearing. And so I was like, okay, I need to refresh my group of friends. And all of a sudden I saw Sarah Hogue post about the summit, and I looked into it, and I was there then 2 weeks from then, and I was a full member at the same time, because I was like all in. This is a fruit. Like I just saw it. Like I had some previous clients that I was like, where do I find more clients like her? And then I found the No Women, which was a group of like a room full of people just like this woman that I've worked with before. And I just thought, I have to know all of them.
They're awesome. Every single one of them, I feel like, is a particular individual that just gets it, like just gets that lifestyle that you're talking about. So we met Sarah, the Bempkin, the creator, through the podcast, and we did a podcast with another business that she had started and now had sold, and we kept in contact. We like to keep in contact with every one of our guests. And, it just came to a point where during 2020, Britt was working in the healthcare like realm, and she was getting burnt out just because COVID burns a lot of people out in that category. So she was looking for something new and something more. Like, she wanted to connect. She, like you, she likes connecting. She likes I say she's one of the most empathetic individuals that cares a lot about, and that's why she loves my podcast and likes working with me, is because we really do passionately care about the individuals who come on our show and want to root for them, want to cheerlead for them. And so that's the kind of like who she is. And when she finally got a chance to, like, Sarah came back around and she remembered Sarah, and Sarah was like, yeah, come, help me out. And Britt was like totally on board, because she'd remember about, like, Sarah had just, the concept had just come into her world, and she told us about it off air, and we didn't really promote that side of it. And so when she was like, probably, I think, in the first couple of years into it, Britt was like, look, I have this chance to, like, work with all these incredible women. We have an opportunity to help all these incredible individuals and their businesses. I was like, yeah, go for it. Like, let's do it. And that's really great when we can like have these universal things come into our world and, like, just really take hold of us. And that was really one of those moments where we were both kind of like, yeah, this will work. This will definitely be something positive in our life. And it has been. It has been really great to be able to. I work with a couple of the events. I've seen and met a lot of the female individuals that are part of the group, and they're all fantastic, incredible women who have incredible, concepts and businesses. I personally feel like it's a great group, and I think you are very much a part of that. So kudos and congrats.
Yeah, it's just a very genuine, like, it was surprising how genuine I found people to be. And then I just, like, to be honest, I went in, I was like, I need more clients.
Mhm.
This is where they're hanging out, and they're right in my wheelhouse. And honestly, what I've gotten from the group in just a year is just so much inspiration
Yeah.
that my business has grown with clients outside of it. Like, it's not even people inside the know. It's like the know women, the people in the know women have become like my best friends, and they're like inspiring me and cheering me on. And just like, I was just surprised because they kind of felt like they were unattainable. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah, sometimes it is like that.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I was part of them. I didn't feel like good enough. And that they were very successful women. They are very successful women. And I just didn't think I was there yet. But I thought, well, I can still help them with my services.
Absolutely.
And what I came to find was that the group is just like everybody, no matter how much money they're making, how long they've been in business, like, they all have the same problems I'm having.
Mhm.
And it just kind of broke down this barrier. And I'm coming out of this group and just getting so many friendships from it.
That's wonderful. I love hearing these stories. It's really great. It makes me feel like the people that we have accordingly with, I always say to our guests, use our Rolodex of past guests and people who've been on our show, because they're just as fantastic as they are on our show that they are in person. And I always feel like they always provide us with just a glimpse. And I know that they have so much more in their wheelhouse and so much more capabilities. So we are, and this is something that Brittany and I keep talking about, is like, we want them to all meet again. Like, we want to have an event where all of our past, because we're getting close to 400 episodes. So I would love to have an opportunity to share all of them together in a place where they can mingle and kind of like be able to delegate themselves into these different groups of like, hey, I need your help, or I need your services, or I would love to work with you, or I would love to collaborate with you. I think that would be a fantastic moment for us and a full circle moment for us as well.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit of what MakeJoy Studio does as services, and what you do as your full-time gig, and like what you do as far as what you actually provide on a weekly basis, or what you do for yourself to help you keep balance as far as your day-to-day stuff. So let's get into it, Jen. What if I was someone of a business, like, wanting a rebrand or something that I'm just starting out, how would I come to you, or what are the things do I expect?
So I love getting on a call with someone right away, doing the Zoom. I really get to dive into their business and what they're looking to achieve and who their target audience is. A lot of times the businesses that come to me haven't thought through things like that. They've actually been really successful in their career and what they're doing. So they might be they're getting along pretty well, but they just know that, eventually the time's going to come where word of mouth or whatever's working now is going to maybe dry up a little bit, or maybe they're looking to grow. And so they look into doing some branding and, revamping a website, or sometimes these businesses don't have a website at all. They've been surviving without one. And they just know they need those things because that's how people find us on a 24/7 basis. And so when we don't have the energy to market ourselves, that's what our online presence kind of does for us. And so that's what I help with. And I was thinking about this the other day. I kind of help sell confidence, because sometimes my clients are, they have their service or their product that they're great at, and they just don't want to share their website with other people because it's, for lack of a better word, disgusting. Or
it's still in its novelty. Like it's, it's just like MS Paint still levels.
Yeah. It was good for at least getting started, or maybe they've started a website, but they haven't even posted it because they tried to do it on their own, and they're just like banging their head over the computer trying to finish it. And all of a sudden it's, 6 months later, 2 years into the business, and they still don't have this, complete brand of what they look like online. And so that's what I kind of come in to help, is not just on the, like to make them look attractive, but I think through who they're talking to and what those people need to see in order to make a confident purchase. Like
the customer experience level.
Yeah. If your website links are broken, if, our world is a world where we kind of judge within the first few seconds of seeing something.
The first few clicks. If it's hard to get to, like, especially from my approach as a podcaster, it's like that frequency, the level of frequency just to get to that first episode, or that one episode that you want to hear. Like, if I don't have that in the first 3 clicks, you're going to walk away, unfortunately to say. Like, you're going to not try as hard. So I try my best to make that as obtainable and as obtainable quickly as possible. So, when I do the intros for a lot of our episodes, I try and make sure that I'm letting you know all of the socials, but also all the unique places where you can, like, definitely get it off of your Alexa. Like, that's one of those things where it's like easiest. I have one over here. I just want to make sure that I don't make her go off. But yeah, it's like, I totally understand that level of, like, that customer level experience, wanting to provide the easiest and beautiful, most, unique, experience possible for your business.
Yeah, it's about the first impression, unfortunately. Like, that's what I try to help with, is because sometimes people don't get a chance to know who you are as a business and how great you are. Like, kind of like you're saying with people who come on your podcast, we're just getting a glimpse. And so even faster through social media and online is people, they go to a website, they go to your social media, and if it looks disjointed, if it's not necessarily a reflection of your actual quality of service that you provide.
Mhm.
And so that's what I want to bring, is that like shine to your online presence so that people really understand you in like a second.
Yeah.
And yeah, just that first impression. And people have such a short attention spans that it's just becoming more critical that there is this like immediate feel about your business when they look at something as simple as your social media post.
Absolutely. And as hard as it is to say, it's like that's what a lot of happened during our experience during COVID, is understanding what we bring to the table as a business and as an individual. It's like there was a lot of, and I thought it was a really great time to look inward as far as what's your bread and butter? Like, what are you providing to the community as far as your bread and butter level like experience? And for those who took the time to really understand that factor or understand that experience, you could see it in our stories that we've had guests who's like, yeah, we had to stop and do the inward looking, and we understood that this is what we provide to the community and we wanted that to not stop. We had to pivot on the other stuff because they, whatever A, B, or C reason, I really, really do understand and appreciate that inward looking time was a unique factor for them. And I understood, I'm really appreciative that they were able to tell us that story, because that is something that is hard for everyone, business owners of all types, that like, hey, look, this is at the end of the day what we do most. And this is what we relied on for our customers to help us through this time. And it's tough to also hear, it's like the closing of a lot of businesses, and it was a unique and experiential time for a lot of people. But I really do respect, as a designer, for yourself to be able to stay afloat and able to really put yourself out there, and look at you now. You're in a unique situation, unique spot. Speaking of unique spots, my wife told me that you are no longer in the Tempe area, but you actually moved a little bit outward into a unique space in Arizona. Can you give us a little bit of like where you're at and what you love about it?
Yeah. So I lived in Tempe for 18 years. I went there for my freshman year of college and I didn't leave. I bought a house there right near Tempe Town Lake. Wow. And I bought it for like $115,000. And I made a pretty good penny on that when we sold it last year.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah, 1950s house. I loved it. My dad was terrified when I bought it. I was only 22 years old. And he was like, go buy a really brand new condo over in Ahwatukee. And I was like, no, I have to be near Mill Avenue and ASU because it'll sell better later. And so I didn't, 22-year-old me, I thank her, because now here I am. And I'm in a town I did not even I didn't know existed, honestly.
What's it called?
Heber Overgaard. Some people have heard of it.
Yeah, that's the first for me. I'm like, what is
it's in between Payson and Show Low. It's a drive town. I mean, I don't want to, I've learned a little bit from living in a small town for a year. Don't offend the small town people. But it's a beautiful small town, but honestly, you see the cars they're driving through to go to Show Low usually.
Yeah.
We're 40 minutes both ways to Show Low and Payson.
Okay.
So that's how far a Safeway or Fry's are. I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, it's a big.
You know what though? It is a unique, like, so I grew up on a reservation, the Hopi reservation up north.
Yeah.
And I would go down towards Show Low for high school events, and when I got to college, I would go up that way to beat the heat, because I love the forest and the wooded areas up there. It's so beautiful. I always love it up there, and I think it's such a unique place. It's different than the Western, like Flagstaff area.
Yeah.
It's so unique, and so I say kudos to you to like find an area that you really enjoy, and it's a space that I think you can be really creative and find really unique um, places to help people, like stores and other unique businesses that are looking for this branding, that need it actually, that have experiential things that they need done. And so kudos to you, like be able to beat the heat.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how we got here, but we loved camping in Payson, and
Okay.
so when we were looking, we were just ready for a change. I think, again, 2020 made a lot of people rethink a lot of things, and one of it was like, we've been in we were in our Tempe home for about 10 years, and we were just kind of like feeling like it was the same thing over and over again. We're working, and then the summers are coming and they're hot and we want to go outdoors, but it's so freaking hot
Too hot.
that we can't do, yeah, it's too hot. We can't do things. And we didn't have a pool. So we kind of were suffering in the summers, and my husband's from Indiana. So
Okay.
he's used to cooler weather. I grew up in this, and we just kind of wanted a big change, and we moved to a town with only like 3,500 people.
Wow.
So
but less traffic. You don't have to worry about that traffic anymore.
It's funny because I'll drive to Payson now, because we were looking at houses in both. We looked at this house, and then we looked at all these houses in Payson, because that's where I thought we were going to land. And now I drive to Payson and I'm like, oh, it's so crowded.
I've never heard anyone describe Payson that way. So crowded.
Yeah, it's just so we have an acre, which is very different from our house that was near Tempe Town Lake. And yeah, it's just green, and the high today is going to be 85, which is pretty warm, actually.
That's awesome.
And I've never lived in snow, so I had my first winter last year. I shoveled it 4 times, and it was kind of beautiful. So it wasn't so far so good. I'm a little nervous for winter already, starting to become this way. But it's the thing is so my business was already practically virtual. It kind of forced it to be even more online. So I'm doing a lot more Zoom calls and networking. And then I come to the Valley about twice a month sometimes, because I'm still living in the Valley. But I'm living up here where it's very peaceful, and it does.
I would say, I mean, that's a perfect amount of time to be like networking, and it gives you a amount of like two or three, maybe 3 like times to visit the Valley, where you're just like doing work stuff and just kind of like meetings, and just
I think that's kind of what we realized. We were kind of like, how often are we really leaving the house?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like
me and my husband are both introverted. And
perfect.
so
then you're in the right spot. Yeah. Like I love this. I love this for you, because it's like, again, it's like you still get the best of both worlds. You get your side where your home is, and then when you have that energy, or you want to be in the city life, so to speak, you come down. You just make the travel. It's not that far, and you get to also. I was gonna say this. Do you stay in Airbnbs? You get to change it up and stay in a unique spot.
The wonderful thing that's worked out is that my family's still in the Valley.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
My mom's still down there, and she has made me a guest room. So
there you go. That's nice.
I get
Even
to
better.
come down, and I stay with her, and I get to visit her, and I almost see her now more that I do that than when I lived close by.
There you go. That's perfect.
Really nice.
Well, we are like we're in the same kind of position right now, where it's just like we have a 2-year-old, so we're kind of at the point where like he needs to go to school, so we're looking at schools, and my parents are like kind of in that retiring phase where they're trying to get out of Phoenix and move up north, and so there's a period now where we're just like, well, they're going to be traveling back and forth. Do we want to build a guest house? Because we have a room, but as this, they're like, this is a 1940s ish house, and it still kind of has the same. There's updates. This is the back office is built here as a add-on, but as we grow as a family and people start to transition into new phases, I want to keep up and have those opportunities to have it kind of like I've wanted solar panels to help us out with I'm one part sustainability, but one part just, getting us off of the grid and providing us with more opportunity to be sustainable with our energy usage. And so that's part of things that we think about all the time. And so I'm just in that period of like, I'm thinking about wanting to do this to the house and add on this and all of that stuff. So we're in that space where just like, it's time for a little bit of a change, but we're going to, stay here. Of course, this is our forever home. And we're just trying to make it so that as we grow as a family and as our family transitions into different phases, that our house also stays in that with us. So that's kind of like where we're at. And I asked this of everyone for who comes into us, give us a little bit of your goals and what you hope to, maybe in this year or in the future, things that you want to do or want to provide your customers so that our listeners may be able to help you out in that goal setting and provide an opportunity to achieve those goals.
Yeah. Just over the past couple years, I've been really just trying to kind of niche down my market so that I can, better focus on what I'm providing. And so what I really love doing is helping other women. And because I think we know that we struggle in a different way than men when we're running a business. And I just have a heart for women who are trying to go after their passions and grow their business. I still have clients across the spectrum of I have different industries, but I really love kind of going and trying to attract other women so that I can help them, because I know they're trying to do it all by themselves sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to help relieve a little bit and give them a step up by working on their brand website for them.
That's beautiful. I think that's such a unique factor that anyone would be interested in wanting to help you out, especially all of our listeners. We're in the period of like our analytics of like understanding our analytics a little bit more. And so we kind of know our percentages. And so I just confidently say like 65% of our listeners are female. So it's going to be a great thing, a great time for you. The other aspect of like your niche market is what you've been through personally. I know through my research that you have particular health thing that I hope that you would share with us just in the scope of what you do to help others. So I'll let you take the floor here because it's a unique health issue that I'd love to understand and hear from you.
Yeah, so I'm still in this journey of trying to kind of weave how being a small business owner and my health are coming together. So I'm still trying to figure out, how am I telling this story? How does this relate to branding? And so it's kind of like I'm rebranding myself. But I was diagnosed in 2021, so it's been about 2 years now, with a very rare form of cancer, and it's called Paraganglioma, and it's metastasized throughout my body. I actually had my very first paraganglioma tumor when I was 20, and it went through my eardrum, and I lost most of my hearing in my left ear, which is a whole different story of like why my networking and kind of being on my own went to the wayside during my business, because it was just hard to hear people in group settings. But anyways, It wasn't until actually, because it's such a rare disease and I found it so young, I kind of went with like what the doctors told me. And I really wasn't, I mean, it feels like it's not that long ago, but I didn't really Google it.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of went with it. And
Yeah.
it's a genetic, it's based on my father had a tumor and my grandpa had a tumor,
Mm-hmm.
and they were called something different, but it was my doctor who connected them and said, yeah, it's in your family, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not until 2020 that I started to actually get genetic testing done. And then when I had the results of that, I started to do more research and realized that this benign tumor that I've been looking at for, a decade now can actually spread throughout the body. It's very, very rare. Only 30% of people who get this rare tumor will have it spread, and only 1 in like 3, I'm going to get the stats wrong, but it's like 1 in 3 million people will get this type of cancer. So it's very rare. There's not a lot of, it's very frustrating because there's not a lot of places to look for research and to kind of have like a path to follow. But yeah, I was diagnosed at age 35 with stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
And I'm here today still.
Yeah. Wonderful.
2.5 years later. And a year into my diagnosis, I was actually diagnosed also with thyroid cancer. So I'm a very special person.
I think also it's like your demeanor too is just so positive that you'd never suspect, I guess. And that's it's just incredible to hear your kind of how you're approaching this, and just really it seems so positive. So I just really hope nothing but the best for you, and thank you for sharing that, because it is, I think, what you've instilled and brought up in your business, and it shows like you've written down kind of like you wanting to help people and help provide a chance for others who are affected by this, and wanting to help them and give back. And that's wonderful. I love that. As you continue forward, I hope that you do provide, or at least have a chance to work with like a health based company or a health, clinician company. That would be so awesome to put out into the world, and to be able to have an opportunity to work in that same thing that you always are, you're kind of scared of, almost in the sense of like, oh man, what are they going to tell me next, or sort of thing. And it's like, yeah,
it's a very heavy diagnosis, and I have to convince myself every day to have a different attitude about it, pretty much, because it's real easy to feel sorry for yourself with a diagnosis like that. But I just try to think of the reality of it is that I'm asymptomatic. I have it all over my body, but luckily I have no pain from it. And so I'm in a watch and wait, I took care of the thyroid cancer last year, so that was a whole different thing. But the other cancer is watch and wait. And so I just go in every 6 months to do a checkup. And then, every day I wake up, I kind of feel normal, whatever that means. And so I just continue on with my business. And I think I'm trying to work on myself as far as actually talk about my own business to people, because time is so precious. And so a lot of fear was wrapped up, like with most people, you don't put yourself out there. That's what I help when I'm branding other people. And so it kind of came back to like, okay, I need to work on my own brand and talk about myself and get people to know me, because time is so precious. And so I can't keep hiding behind the computer with my design. I need to like shine a little bit of light on me some. And
that's wonderful.
It's just been something I'm still figuring out. And luckily I do have the time to do that.
I love that. I mean, again, like you said, you put it in the perfect means of like, time is so precious. So there's no Yeah, it's just I love that you put it in that way. Time is so precious, so take the opportunity to share yourself. And so I think this is a wonderful place to conclude our conversation, and we are reaching towards the end here. And so I appreciate all the time you've provided us and just give us a chance to get to know you a little bit better. And I do give the floor to you now to let everyone know where they can find you online, all your social media handles. But again, I leave off with just a big thank you from you, and I appreciate all the time you've given us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, go ahead and take the floor and let everyone know all the social media handles, the website, any events that you've got going on, and where they can find you.
Sure. So I'm most active on Instagram at MakeJoy Studio. You can go to my website at makejoystudio.com. I would love to work with, I love working with small businesses, especially female entrepreneurs who are trying to do it all by themselves. I love to come in and understand your business and really kind of hone in your brand and reflect that on your online presence. And let's see, where else? I'm on LinkedIn.
Thanks.
And then I'm launching at the end of this month. It's called thesitestyler.com. Yeah. So I mostly do custom brands for my clients, but I wanted to give back a little bit more and offer something in a lower price point to people who are looking kind of more for a quick website, kind of a website in a box.
Nice.
And so I'm offering, I named it The Site Styler by MakeJoy Studio, and they can go to thesitestyler.com, and there's a waiting list right now. And if they sign up for the waiting list before it launches, they'll get $100 off if they decide to go forward and have me work on their website for them. So
beautiful. I love that. And as always, we kind of have a little outro here. We have everything that you can watch from us and hear from us is all available at findingarizonapodcast.com. All of our social media handles is at Finding Arizona Podcast. So tell us who you want it next, and we'll try and make that happen. Our email is at findingarizonapodcast@gmail.com. If you want to send us a line, I encourage you to do so. We will write right back and let us know again who you want in next, and we will try and make that happen. And as always, we end every episode with kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends, and we will catch you next time. Bye, y'all.
thank you.